You're a fish, and yet you can't do the one thing every fish is supposed to do, which is just live in the water and chill. Nope. You have to crawl out of the water to breathe air, but you also can't let yourself dry out. So you spend your entire life stranded on a strip of stinking mud that is actively trying to kill you from every possible direction at once. You belong in the sea, and you belong on land, which really means you belong nowhere. Welcome to life as a mudskipper. But let's back up and start where you start, in one of the nastiest, most unforgiving neighborhoods on the entire planet, the intertidal mudflat. This is the in-between zone, the muddy edge where the ocean meets the shore, usually around mangroves in hot tropical places, and it is brutal. Twice a day, the tide rolls in and drowns the whole place under seawater. Then twice a day, it pulls back out and leaves behind a baking, exposed plain of soft, oxygen-starved mud roasting under a tropical sun. It floods, it dries, it floods, it dries, over and over, forever. Nothing about it is stable, and this hellish, shifting mud pit is the only home you've got. And your life here starts small and helpless. You hatch as a tiny larva and get swept out into open water, drifting with the plankton while the ocean picks your siblings off by the thousands. The few of you that survive eventually have to find your way back to the mud, settling onto the exact kind of brutal, exposed flat that most animals would run screaming from. This isn't a place you escape to. It's a place you're sentenced to. So how does a fish even survive in a place that's underwater half the time and bone dry the rest? You cheat at being a fish. See, most fish breathe with gills, and they need to stay in the water to do it. But you've got a trick. You can breathe through your skin and through the lining of your mouth and throat, pulling oxygen straight out of the air. It's a wild ability, and it's the only reason you can survive out of the water at all. But there is a massive catch, and it rules your entire life. That skin breathing only works while you stay wet. The second you dry out, you're done. You suffocate. Think about how strange that is. You're an animal that can drown if you stay under too long, and can suffocate if you dry out too much. Your own body has boxed you into the narrowest survival window imaginable. You're not built for the open sea, and you're not built for dry land. You're built for the thin, miserable seam between them, and that seam is barely wide enough to keep you breathing. So now you're trapped in an impossible balancing act. You have to come out of the water to breathe air, but if you stay out too long and dry up, you die. And you can't just hide underwater forever either, because the muddy water you live in is so low on oxygen, it can actually suffocate you too. So you're constantly stuck in the middle, racing back and forth, keeping your body just damp enough. Never too dry, never stuck under too long. Every single moment of your life is a tightrope walk between drowning and drying out. You roll yourself in the mud to stay slick. You dart back to a puddle the instant your skin starts to dry. You keep a little water trapped in your gill chambers like a portable supply, sipping at survival. It never lets up. There's no lying back in the sun, no long lazy swim in the deep, just the constant twitchy job of staying exactly damp enough not to die. And just to make it worse, you don't even move like a fish out there. To get around on land, you drag yourself across the mud using your front fins like a pair of crude little crutches, hauling your body forward in awkward lurches, or flipping and skipping across the surface in clumsy hops. That's where your name comes from. You're not gracefully swimming. You're a fish flopping around in the dirt, doing your best to get from puddle to puddle without becoming a snack. Your eyes sit right on top of your head, bugging out like little periscopes, so you can scan for danger in every direction. And believe me, you need them, because out here, danger comes from absolutely everywhere. Think about your situation. You are a small, slow, soft-bodied fish flopping around in the open on bare mud with nowhere to hide. From above, birds like herons and kingfishers patrol the flats, and to them, you are an easy, exposed meal, just begging to be snapped up. From the water, when the tide rushes back in, bigger fish and other hunters come cruising through the shallows, looking for exactly something like you. So at low tide, the sky wants to eat you, and at high tide, the sea wants to eat you. You get hunted from two entirely different worlds, around the clock, with no real break, and you can't outrun any of it. You're not fast. You're not armored. You can't dive deep and vanish. Your entire defense plan is to flop toward the nearest hole in the mud and pray you reach it before something reaches you. And on top of the predators, there's the environment itself, constantly trying to finish you off. The tropical sun bakes the mudflat into a scorching oven, threatening to cook you and dry you out. The temperature swings wildly. The saltiness of the water changes as tides and rain come and go. The whole place is a punishing, ever-changing gauntlet, and you have to survive all of it with a body that's basically a fish that wandered too far from home. And as if mere survival weren't a full-time job, you've also got to compete. The flats are crowded with other mudskippers, all scrapping over the best territory and the best burrows. So you burn energy you can barely spare defending your patch, squaring up to rivals, and hurling your whole body into the air in big leaping displays to show off and win a mate. Out here, even flirting is exhausting and risky. Every jump a flash of movement that could catch a hungry bird's eye. So what's your big survival plan in this nightmare? You dig. You burrow down into that soft, foul mud, carving out a little tunnel to call home. Your burrow is your safe room. It's where you escape the blazing sun, where you hide from the birds, and where you wait out the worst of the tides. But here's the grim part. The mud down in your burrow is so packed with rot and so starved of oxygen that the water filling it can suffocate you. Your shelter is also a potential death trap. So even your safe little home is one more place that's quietly trying to kill you. And you can't just abandon it either, because without that burrow, you've got no shelter from the sun, the predators, or the tide. So you're stuck living in a damp little tunnel that's equal parts sanctuary and hazard, constantly having to maintain it and air it out just to keep it survivable. And if you manage to survive long enough to have kids, things get even more demanding. When it's time to breed, you dig a special chamber in your burrow for the eggs, but that chamber is flooded with the same oxygen-poor water as everywhere else, which means your eggs are in serious danger of suffocating before they ever hatch. So you, the parent, have to fix it yourself, the hard way. You gulp big mouthfuls of fresh air at the surface, then carry that air all the way down into the burrow and release it into the egg chamber, building up a precious bubble of oxygen to keep your babies alive. And you have to do this trip again and again and again, hauling air down into the dark like some exhausted little delivery worker. Because the moment you stop, your eggs start to die. There's no day off, no shortcut, no one to take over. Just you, gulping and diving, turning your own mouth into a life support machine for a clutch of eggs buried in the dark, for as long as it takes. So let's go all the way back to the start. You were born a fish that can't live like a fish. And here's what that actually means for you. And looming over every bit of it, every single day, is the tide. Twice a day, your entire world floods. And twice a day, it drains away. And you have to time your whole existence around it. Feeding, breathing, hiding, breeding, all on a clock set by the moon. You never simply get to live. You're always racing the waterline. You begin life clinging to the harshest possible real estate on Earth, a mudflat that floods and bakes in an endless cycle, neither land nor sea. You survive only by breathing through your skin, which forces you into a constant, exhausting balancing act between drowning in oxygen-starved water and drying out in the open air. You can't even move properly, lurching across the mud on stubby fins while predators hunt you from the sky at low tide and from the sea at high tide. Your only refuge is a burrow that can suffocate you. And if you become a parent, you spend your days ferrying mouthfuls of air into the dark just to keep your kids from dying. That's what it means to be born a mudskipper. You're a creature stranded halfway between two worlds, fully welcome in neither, fighting every single moment just to stay wet enough, cool enough, hidden enough, and alive on a patch of mud that wants you dead from every angle. Be glad you weren't born as one.